Hello, everyone, and welcome back to an episode of Seasonal Reflections between my amazing guest and friend, Yanaëlle Ntwa, and me, Lisa Jara. And we have done a series, basically. We started almost a year ago, starting with winter and a chat about the death that happens in winter, whatever kind of death that is. It is usually more like a spiritual death or an ego death, or just finding that some part of us is no longer serving us. It may have served for a while. Now it's no longer beneficial to our health. And so we are invited to become still, let go, allow the composting and recycling to happen. I love to point out that recycling means bringing it back into a cycle. Since I'm all about the cycles. In case you don't know me, I'm a menstrual and menopausal health specialist and a coach through life crises, a confidant that you can rely on to walk by your side for a while when you go through your dark night of the soul. And Yanaëlle, if you want to just briefly share what you do.
Yeah, so hello everybody. It's been a while, but I'm so happy to be back for this conversation because it's been really amazing. And I hope that for everybody listening, it has been also amazing to follow us on this journey. But so to reply to your question, what do I do? Well, at the moment, what I do is that I write poetry for business owners for their marketing. So I really help them take their brand story to the next level, a level of intimacy with their clients, a level of beauty, a level of connection. And so whatever is they branding, I just put that into beautiful poems that they can use in so many ways. So in the newsletter, for their packages, for their website, blog, social media content. So everything is kind of possible there. So yeah, this is what I do.
Thank you. And that's definitely a level that AI cannot reach.
Amen. Amen to that.
Yeah. And so I will link to the other episodes below this one. But we have taken a trip through every phase of the cycle again, beginning in winter, because that's where the composting and everything happens. And then how this falling away of some part allows us to start blooming in spring, starting to plant seeds, like internal seeds, ideas, and basically the idea of who we want to become in this new phase, and taking it through the summer and allowing the inspired action to take place. That was a juicy conversation.
Yeah.
Reframing action from the do for doing sake into and taking inspired action. And yeah, now we are in autumn season, the fourth season of any cycle. In the menstrual cycle, that would be the luteal phase and the premenstrual phase. And in the moon cycle, that's the waning moon phase. In a yearly cycle, that's of course the outer season of autumn. And what I like to point out, because it will be relevant when I share a bit about what happened in my autumn, is that I see autumn as like two phases in one, basically. We've got the first part of autumn, the early autumn, which is usually a time of creativity and beauty and harvesting. So like when the trees start turning yellow and the leaves turning yellow and red and whatever other colors there are. And then the late autumn phase is more this like premenstrual phase where we drop down, but like really deep down, which happened to me this year. Like, I don't know when that happened before. And then we move into winter, and this can be a tricky time to navigate. But I'm curious to start us off. What are your thoughts on autumn, and how has autumn been playing out in your life?
Yeah. Well, first of all, beautiful summary. Like the recap was so good. It helped me too. So I was like, yeah, that is so good. And you can see the connection between all the talks. But to talk about fall, fall, like the first thing that comes to me is like fall has been good to me because, and I feel like fall is good to everybody, the whole collective, because we get to see actually what is the harvest of the year. And it's the same with people in agriculture. It is this time, it is a time where they're gonna actually collect the harvest. And I think that for women also with the menstrual cycle, it's kind of, if you track your cycle, if you are intentional with your cycle, whether it is for fertility or fertility in all kinds of ways, so not just the baby, but in your life, in your creativity, what you are birthing into the world, you have this beautiful phase where you can reflect and see what is growing in my garden, what has been growing all over the year, what is the fruit of my labor, of my work, of my sweat and tears, of my prayers, of my dedication, of my work, of the work of my hands. And that to me was amazing. It was amazing actually to see that if we are intentional through the cycle, so through the menstrual cycle, but also the big cycle of the 4th season, then fall really is a key moment where we can sit down and see, oh my God, I've grown. And also, because that also happened to me, is like, oh my God, I need to work this out, or I need to improve in this area of my life, or things are really falling apart there. And it's a good thing, actually. I need to let it fall. I need to let it die. And that's where winter is kind of, like peeking through through the curtain saying, yeah, it's my turn soon. I'm gonna help you, purge all of this. I'm gonna help you let all this die and go, and so you can embrace new layers of yourself. So to me, that is kind of, in a summary, in a nutshell, the beauty of fall and also the value of fall. Because it allows us to see what we have done, and if we have done it in a way that is beneficial for us or not. And then we get the new cycle to readapt.
Mm-hmm. And how has it played out in your life?
Ooh. Well, in my life, so we started around beauty in the winter conversation, how beauty was really like a huge value for me. And when I think about beauty and when I speak about beauty, because I know, sorry, I need to, my nose. I know that beauty can be a triggering word for women. But for me, beauty is not just physical beauty. Beauty to me is actually the oneness, and the beauty that is in the oneness, meaning that in you, there is me. And I think that that is so beautiful. In me, there is you, and that is so beautiful. And my intention for this year was actually to ground that in everything that I do, was to ground heaven on earth, to ground it in my daily practices, to be connected to the sacredness of the divine, that is in everything. When I do the dishes, when I walk, when I swim, when I, talk with friends, that was my big like umbrella topic. And so when fall came around and I started to reflect, and I was like, oh my God, it started with a seed, it started with an idea, and now it has blossomed into a whole garden. And that to me is also the beauty and the value of practices, how practices actually allow us to go from one seed, one idea, to actually something that blossoms into really something that is tangible. And practices were really helpful for me there. But it also led me to big breakdowns and big moments where I was like, I cannot move forward with that in my life. I cannot carry this any longer. I need to actually sit with the chaos and kind of let it transform me and allow the transformation to happen. Is embrace kind of this alchemy that comes from the chaos and surrender to it so that actually it can transform me. And so that was also huge, and the eclipse also were there to really, highlight this and amplify it, so the universe can be sure that I don't miss it.
Yep.
That I don't ignore it.
Smack in your face.
Exactly. It's like, she's gonna see it. She's gonna see it. But now that I will say, behind the storm, or in this after storm, to me, I'm grateful, because I'm excited for winter. Because now I know, thanks to the storm, things through the chaos, I know what needs to be alchemized. And so I cannot wait. I can no longer wait any longer for winter, because I know exactly what needs to die. And that is also something that to me was very important to mention, is that fall actually highlights also what needs to specifically die in our lives, so that we can get into a new cycle. Because if we loop back to our conversation, we are not just here to hang out like in our lifetime. We are actually here to go through cycle of transformation and of evolution and of growth. And if we live intentionally with the season also, we kind of are facilitating this this growth that is happening, and it's also, if we go back to beauty, we are interconnected with the whole cosmos. So as the stars are dancing, as we have having those big eclipses, we are also dancing. We are also having those big eclipses inside of us. And so to me, it's also a sign of harmony. And that is something that I know, as a collective, as a humanity, as an earth, we have been longing and craving for harmony and peace. And I think that cycling is also a good thing.
Yeah. And while you were saying that, I personally see it more as like a symphony than harmony, because life needs disharmony so that we can harmonize again. Like, it's this constant, this ebb and flow, these different polarities, but it's all playing together.
Yeah.
As you say, like, it's all like, there are different cycles, different influences, but it's all playing out in a way that is for us, for our growth and evolution.
Exactly.
And I totally agree that we are here to grow and evolve. And I just want to point out, because it just rang in me, this, in the societies we live in, there is this idea of growth where growth has been corrupted into meaning something that's like always progressing, always on the upwards trend, don't have a dip, don't cycle down, don't spiral down, because that's like failure, whatever. And I believe it's more like the dance you just described. It's an evolving that is moving basically at the same level, but unfolding, almost like flowers when they like blossoming, and like there's one layer unfolding, and then there's another layer inside and another layer, but the flower stays the same in the same position. And
I agree. And thank you for highlighting that, because I feel like it's so important that we understand that, to me, growth happens in winter, but winter feels like nothing is happening, right? Like everything is naked, but naked. Like there is no leaves on the tree. Everything is so peaceful and chill, and it's silent, but there is massive growth that is happening in that darkness, in that womb of life. And that is important. It is really important that as a collective, as a society, we realize that growth doesn't only happen at the peak of things. Growth also happens in the desert places, and
you can only grow as high as you've put down roots down.
True.
The stronger your roots and the more into the earth they are, the higher you can grow. So it's on both levels. And the winter reminds us to grow our roots stronger, so that we do have the energy and can sustain this outward growth that's happening.
Exactly.
And for me, this how it played out in my life was that, like, as I displayed these two different phases, and the first part of autumn, I created a summit around menopause, which in terms of a life cycle is the same phase. It's the autumn phase in a life cycle. It's the time where we sift through our life and look at, okay, what do I actually want from my life? Or where we have the opportunity to do so, because it's not always easy to even know what we want in the first place. But that's okay. The willingness to look at what feels good to me and what doesn't is already enough to start this process. And I was creating the summit and I was having fun, and I made it easy for me. I made it a slow summit. So there were just a handful of speakers and a conversation each day so that attendees could really digest the information. And by the way, I can link to that if you still want it. I have it as a course on my course platform. But that was so much fun to really dive into the beauty of this phase of life that for many people is something they don't look forward to, that they feel there is shame around, the aging that's happening, the society talks, like, does not show the wisdom of this phase, does not show basically elder women in TV shows and whatnot. Like, they never play the main role, or not never. It's getting better now. But to really showcase the beauty and the connection and the community, because harvesting is also like a communal activity, and was. Like, we are doing this together, and if one farmer has this kind of machine and the other doesn't, they will like help each other out. And in the end, we celebrate the harvest with Thanksgiving, whether that's the American Thanksgiving, or here too, we do have a sort of Thanksgiving where we just appreciate what has grown and what the earth has given us to nourish ourselves and nurture and sustain us through the next winter phase.
Yeah.
Likewise, the premenstrual phase is a time of looking at, okay, what has shown up, what has grown in this garden, and what of it do I want to keep, and what do I need to weed out and let die?
Yeah.
And then after this summit, boom, that was together with the eclipse season and the Scorpio season, and Scorpio is the sign of transformation and depth and death. And I definitely fell into a big hole that I'm only slowly coming out of. But that's something that people who have, for example, extreme PMS and PMDD symptoms, they have these intense mood swings right before that period. And this is very similar to the deep dive that I went through, energetically speaking. Yeah. And I cannot imagine what it must feel like to do that every month. And if you experience that, my heart goes out to you. Yeah. And also I want to say there's things you can do about it, so get in touch.
Yeah. That's beautiful what you're sharing, because actually I'm kind of a fall girl. Like, I love fall. And I cannot wait to be an elder. Like, really, to be honest, like, since I was a little girl, I've always been in awe of elders, because I think that for me, they embody wisdom. Like, they embody so much knowledge, so much experience, so much discernment. And I just admire that. And that is also something that I feel is so sacred in this season of life. Like, in the big, cycle, but also as women, is that we get to harvest not just the fruit of our labor, but also it's the fruit of our wisdom. It's like we get to collect wisdom in this season of life. If we really, in this season of our cycle, if we really are in tune with it, if we really are intentional from the beginning, we can actually collect a lot of wisdom. For me, Scorpio season was intense, but it brought me back to the lesson of forgiveness, actually, of how important it is to forgive ourselves. I have a beautiful elder, a woman that I love so much in my life, and she taught me that quote. She said to me that to err is human and to forgive is divine. And
yes.
So deep. That's why I love, like, elder people. They are my people. Like, I love them so much. Like, I love to hang out with them. I just feel so good with them. But and every time I remember during that season, I just went back to that quote and I was like, to err is human. You will always make mistakes because you are human. It's part of the human nature. And not only it is, to me, it was an encouragement to forgive myself, but also to forgive others. Because that is also beautiful. It's like we are one, right? So when we forgive ourselves, we also forgive others. When we forgive others, we forgive ourselves. And so I feel like that is also the beauty of fall, is to let go of things that like we have to make peace. Like we have to let go of those frustration, those grudges, those those stories that keeps us in bondage in our mind, that keeps us captive from others, or victims from other, or even abusers, because we speak a lot about victims, but lately I was also thinking also a lot about abusers, because abusers are also part of a story, part of a narrative that led them to become who they are. And so, again, if we go back to this place of oneness, then we are not separated from them also. Their story carries also a lot of wisdom for the collective, for the community to learn and to purge. And also purging, such a beautiful, powerful power. I'm kind of repeating myself here, but of women, we get to do that for the collective. And I think that the eclipse, even if we look at like what happened during in the world during that season, so many things just started during the eclipse. And I'm sure as women, like because I've talked to a lot of friends also during that moment, like this, I don't know for you, but me, my cycle was all over the place. Like it was like I could feel it also in my body. And then also it kind of reminded me of the power that we have as women to purge that, to actually intentionally purge all the anger, all that frustration, all that war thing, all that was going on and that is still going on in the collective. We get to actually be priestess. And not wait for somebody else to do the work for us, but actually be like, I got a womb. It is an honor. Let me be responsible for it. Let me be a high priestess in my neighborhood, or in my family, or in my community, or in my nation, or in my continent, or in the world. Whatever we feel, whatever scale we want to embrace. Yeah. Because I feel like that is also part of the beauty of fall, of the season, but also of the woman. That power that we have to purge things, reflect
on a monthly basis.
Yeah,
like, Can you imagine? It's the preparation. On a monthly basis, we get the chance to practice this. As you said, it's about practicing. And we practice that on a monthly basis, so that when these bigger transitions happen, we are much better equipped to deal with them and to hold ourselves through them. Exactly. And the other thing that happened is that during that eclipse season, I went to see my mom. And my mom and I have a very strained relationship and have had that for a very long time, to the point that I needed to cut her out of my life to find myself and to hear my own voice for a time. And then the relationship was very, very strained, and something called me to visit her and talk to her. And a healing has happened that I didn't think was possible for us in this lifetime. And I'm so grateful that I followed this call to go see her and talk to her openly about these things. And it helped me heal a lot of my own childhood stuff, not just in relationship with her, but also other stuff that happened. And to forgive. That's why I thought about this when you mentioned the forgiveness, because there was a lot of forgiveness that needed to happen within myself. And even when we forgive others, we never forgive them for them. We always forgive them for ourselves. Yeah. Because they forgive us so easily. We do forgive others so much more easy than they do themselves. Yeah. We do ourselves. Yeah. That is huge. This. And now we are going to let this simmer over winter and see what emerges in the next spring. Yeah.
That is true.
Her telling me, oh, winter solstice, that is interesting. Yeah, I'm inclined to celebrate that this year. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. But talking about celebrating seasons, we need that back. I feel like we need it back into the calendar, into our practices, because it grounds us. To me, it reminds us that we are the earth. We are part of the earth. We are the daughters and the son of the earth. We are, made of earth. So to celebrate that, to celebrate the meaning behind it, to remind ourselves the meaning of the season. Like you said, it equips us when we go through transitions, big transitions in life. It reminds us actually how to celebrate. It reminds us how to forgive. It reminds us how to let go and let things die. Let things die. It reminds us how to embrace new beginning when springs also, comes around. It's, to me, it's the celebration of the season, as a collective and also as a woman in the menstrual cycle. It's a way of being grounded. It's a way of being part of the earth. It's a way of loving the earth also, and it's a way of loving ourselves, right? Yeah.
And celebration is an act of activism. Celebration is activism in this world, because we are so, like, we are being told to not celebrate ourselves because that's self-indulgent, selfish, egoistic. We need to celebrate ourselves, to appreciate ourselves. Otherwise, like, there is no life, no flavor in life, no energy there. Yeah. And what I became aware very recently is that by celebrating, we are present to what's happening right here, right now, and to what's good right here, right now, despite everything that's wrong in the world, especially at the moment. The world is burning. But what is good right here in this moment? Because we need that, not to bypass the rest, but to feel nourished and strengthened enough to face the rest and do something about it.
Yeah.
And also, like, the crux is that in the society, in the capitalist world, we are told that, like, time is money and it's endless. It's a resource. And we always use the present moment as a means to an end, to get somewhere where we should go or want to go or whatever, but it's always with a look towards the future. Yeah. And in that book that I read, it was like, the richest people are usually not the happiest because they know how to instrumentalize their time, their present moment, to make it the means to an end that's in the future. And so they are always just facing the future and forgetting that the present moment is cherishable and valuable, because right here, this moment could be the last moment of its kind. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. It could be the last time that you and I sit together and talk. True. We never know. Only in retrospect do we know when was the last time we did something.
Yeah, that is so wise.
And what if we look more like towards the, not focusing on the past, but more towards the past, as in, what if this is the last time? How can I really celebrate and cherish this present moment?
Yeah.
More, so that we stay here and celebrate what's here.
Here, yeah. That is so good, because that is one of my biggest lesson in this fall season, because I have a big tendency of actually planning and being in the future. And I think it's also because of things that I do in my life, other projects that I have that require me, this big way of thinking, the long-term planning and thinking and all that stuff. But I remember one day I was like, girl, you're always in the future, but what if the future never comes? What if it never happens? Like, what if, you never get to where you want to be? And I was like, will you be disappointed? Like, how will you react? And then from that moment, I was like, it's important for me to find balance. to be able to think long term, but to also be able to make the present the most cherished moment of my life, the most precious and treasured moment of my life. And even if it doesn't look like, what I wish it could look like, even if it's not extraordinary, I decided that it is important that I give my intention to that. And that's what also brought me into the day-to-day, finding beauty in the day-to-day. And for me, finding beauty in the day-to-day was actually connected to eros, meaning this loving energy that is all around at all time, that is just loving us. It's a divine presence in everything. And being, so in my body that I get to be connected with that. To me, that became my most treasurable and cherishable thing, because I knew that if, I don't see tomorrow, I'll be happy because I actually valued something that mattered. I valued something that was precious to me. And I think that it is really, really important, especially because I'm sure some of the people that are going to look this video are maybe online business owners. So it means that your mind is usually busy with a lot of thinking, a lot of calculating. You're multitasking on so many things. And especially in this end of season, maybe people are planning ahead already, thinking about spring of next year, summer of next year. May we not forget that tomorrow is not promised. So can we actually be present for today, be excited for today, like we think that we will be if what happens tomorrow happens? Can we give that joy and that attention to today? And for me, really, like I have to repeat, like to emphasize this. It's so important. It's really very important, because I feel like it also grounds us. It grounds us into the now. And like you shared with the different model of growth that we have, it's always for the, like you said, it's for
the future.
The future, right? But life is not like that. Life is really not like that. Can we be here for today, actually? Just for today, for what's going on today.
Yeah. And as you say, it's about having a balance between, yes, of course, we need to make preparations for our future. That's normal. But how can we be just a little more present today?
Yeah. Exactly. And just that question, I feel like it can create so many new things into people's life.
And also what I found is it slows down time. I mean, everyone is talking about how fast this year has gone. I mean, like, I remember people around me saying, the older I get, the faster time runs. And I didn't find that to be true. And
really?
I think a big reason of why is because I've started living more in tune with the cycles, be that my own cycle, the moon cycle, the cycles of life, the year or the yearly cycle. Yes, of course. Wow, it's already beginning of December. Wow. But also when I take just a second to think about, oh, wow, I've lived like 11 months and oh my God, so much has happened in that time. And suddenly it doesn't feel quick at all to be in December, but like there was a fair amount of stuff going on in there.
Yeah, definitely.
And then it doesn't seem so fast anymore when we are more present to what's here and now.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful because it relaxes our nervous system.
Yeah.
And it helps us look underneath this illusion that time is linear.
Yeah.
First and foremost, because it isn't. And that we need to control it, and that it's a commodity that oh my God, I've wasted time doing this. The way we speak already shows that we see it as a commodity, as a product that we can waste, and that wasting it is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Even just I'm spending, I heard that recently on a retreat, to go from spending time on self-care to investing time in self-care, and just sense what kind of difference that makes in your body. I can only speak for myself, of course, but like spending has something like something is going away from me. But investing is so intentional.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that, intentional living. That's why we do this series around the season, because we want to, first of all, reflect for ourselves, but also support others in living more intentionally, more consciously.
Yeah, that is so, so good. Relationship with time, that is also something that changed. And I love that you said that, yes, the time flies, but when we take the time to reflect, we realize that so many things happen. Because you spoke about time, and that is something that I also changed, I felt, thanks to summer. Is that I let go of the idea of being busy all the time. Like, I really started to schedule time to do nothing. To really do nothing, to actually, well, like you said, I don't know if I said it last time, but I started swimming every morning, and I still do until now. And I do my sauna session afterwards when I do nothing. I'm just laying down like a potato, and I'm doing my breathing exercise. And, just I've started to do more of that, to actually realize that life is not just all about work. Life is also about enjoying, savoring the moment, being a little bit slow. Like, that's what I love. It goes into winter, but I love, now when I have my period, I enjoy doing nothing. I enjoy resting longer. I enjoy, sleeping longer. And I feel like it's just important. And it goes back to what you were saying about this, like the growth. Growth and time are not linear. It is deeper and beyond that. And when we make room for the bigger and beyond that into our lives, then we experience things that are really, really beautiful and just extraordinary. And that's to me, it is the beauty of the feminine also. And that is why I feel like each woman that is aligned with her cycle, and like aligned with her cycle, she's a revolution in herself. She really she disrupts the system in which we live, which is beautiful, because it
sorry.
Sorry, go.
I just want to drop it in quickly that when you are a woman, you do have a cycle, whether you menstruate or not. I want to remind us as often as I can that we do not lose our cycle, because all beings are cyclical. We just change the cycle we go with. And if you are a trans woman, you still have a cycle. And if you are a non-binary menstruator and you are post-menopause, you still have a cycle. And if you're a man or testosterone-based body, you still have a cycle. And you can practice these things with whichever cycle you have. Right? So even if your cycle works on a 24-hour basis, then the afternoon and evening is your autumn. And you can practice the same things of how to wind down towards the evening and the night. Because as you say, like slowing down, autumn is all about slowing down. The phase, the premenstrual phase, is all about slowing down. And in our world, we're not used to slowing down. And I believe that's where there is a lot of friction, and where all these symptoms come from. Not all of them, of course, but it's part of why we experience these symptoms, because our bodies are working on a different timeline than the society. And we really feel this dissonance. There again, we have a dissonance. And that's where the friction comes, and where the symptoms get worse. And when we start listening to ourselves and what we want and what feels good to our body, like enjoying the doing nothing period, then we have these moments where we recharge the batteries. And I dare reframe this into it's not doing nothing. It's just not doing something outwardly, and especially not something that society would deem quote unquote productive.
Yeah.
But as we have already established, it is very productive because there's so much growth happening underneath.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So
it's a reframing.
Your intention. Yeah.
It's a reframing, I feel. It's a new way of thinking. And I'm excited for the future generations, because I'm sure they're gonna be able to like have language around it and not struggle as much as we do. But yeah, like you said, it's and I hope that people get it, because to me, I had to, like, this year made me get it, that resting is not unproductive. To the contrary, it is productive, and we all need it. We really all need it.
And it's so necessary to be regenerative. That's what we often forget, or what the systems withhold from us as information, is that a cycle is only regenerative if you pay attention to all 4 phases, and if you pay attention to rest and to slowing down before resting. Only then can a cycle be regenerative. And we see that in nature, because nature has been around forever.
Yeah.
And it is the same cycle all over again every year. And it can do that because it pays attention to rest equally as much as to being outwardly active and productive.
Yeah. Yeah, it's impressive. It's really impressive. Like, I have a wood next to me, and so I walk in that wood a lot, like all throughout the season. And so now I've gotten better at discerning, like transition times, when like fall is starting to peak and winter is starting to peak, and it brings me so much reverence and awe of how nature has its own clock. Like, it knows what it is doing. Like, it's just, it is faithful to itself. It is just doing its own thing, and it works every year. It just works, and I'm just in awe, because now things are really getting naked. Like, all leaves, are almost all gone, and I love it. I just love it, because first of all, we have so many beautiful colors. But then what I love, but it's a little bit of winter wisdom there, is how clear you can see into the woods when all the leaves are gone. There is such a clarity that comes with winter. But to get to that place of clarity, you have to experience fall.
Let go.
You cannot skip the season. You have to let things go. You have to allow the Scorpio season, the alchemy, the purge. You have to go through the forgiveness. You have to go through the woods. You have to go through the whatever, the eclipse have been revealing to us. We have to face it. We cannot escape it, because clarity, peace of mind is on the other side. The stillness of winter, it's on the other side, And so that, I feel, to me, that has been a practice this year, to walk consciously, with intention, with awareness and contemplation of what's going on in the woods.
I love that. I remember the woods that were at the old place my husband and I moved away from. And I would go there at least once a week. And when autumn time came, you know how humans dislike their first grays and these signs of aging? Woods have that too. Like, it was not like suddenly all of the leaves were colorful. It was like a little streak here.
Yeah.
Next time it would be another streak somewhere else.
Exactly.
And it goes like our hair. Yeah. And it was so beautiful to witness. And it made me think of, like, why have we ventured so far from the place where we're coming from? Well, I know a lot of why, but it's just I could see gray hair with so much more reverence, knowing that this is exactly what the trees do too.
Yeah.
And how amazing is that?
Yeah. That's beautiful. I don't know why we don't trust rhythm. I don't know why we have we like to cling to specific season of our life so tightly, but I feel like the season teaches us the beauty of each season, the beauty of each, archetype also. Being the maiden, the spring, and then the mother, and then the elder, and then, going back into the earth, the womb of the earth. I feel like it brings so much peace when we accept it. We accept this rhythm in all phases of our lives. It could be gray hair, it could be everything. We just are at peace with the rhythm.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons, of course, is that our brains are afraid of change and of unpredictability. And the rhythms, there are rhythms. They are in a way dependable, but not in a way our brains like. Because, and that's probably the last point I want to raise here looking at the time, but no spring is ever exactly the same as another. No winter is ever the same as another. Sometimes we've got early snow, sometimes we've later snow, sometimes we don't have snow, sometimes we have long periods of snow. Sometimes the leaves the leaves sprout earlier in spring, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it goes very quickly, sometimes it doesn't. And likewise, our personal cycles. No inner spring is ever going to be the same as another exactly. But there are tendencies and there is a rhythm to it. That's why I always say you have to chart your personal cycle, because otherwise you don't know how it's playing out for you, because it's unique and because it slightly changes every month.
Yeah.
And because there is more than just this singular influence, there is so much else that's at play and influencing you. And this is, I think, the path that we need to walk, the spiral that we walk intentionally towards trusting ourselves, learning again to trust ourselves. We all knew how to do that when we were children.
Yeah.
And then society made its appearance and education and all of that. And now we're trying to retrace our steps and spiral back to our truth.
Yeah.
And maybe that's okay too.
It is.
Maybe it's just okay.
It is. Well, if I can give this last piece of wisdom that comes from the same person that gave me the quote, to err is human and to forgive is divine. She told me also that it is good sometimes for somebody to get lost, because that is how they find their way back home. And she gave me that piece of wisdom because I like perfection. I like to get things done extraordinarily well the first time. And she was like, you have to let go of the fear of getting lost, of getting it wrong. Because sometimes you have to get lost. You have to get it wrong so you can find your way back home. And so listening to you and this belief that unfortunately we have built around our own selves, our own heart, our own intuition, our own cycle. And even when I'm saying that, I'm thinking about my own life. Well, it can be a blessing in disguise, because now we know the way back home, and there is a lot of wisdom in knowing the way back home, because when you know the way back home, you know actually the science behind going back home. It is not just a magical things that has no concept or explanation. You actually know which steps you need to take. You have the map now and you can trace it. You can even give it to the next generation. It's not a mystery no more. It's not a secret for a certain group of people on earth. It's something that we all now have. It can explain and share. And that is also revolutionary.
That's why I always say your cycle is your compass back home to yourself.
Amen.
If you want to find out how, I will link my course below. It's free to sign up for it. It's just it's brief, but I think it's very profound to know how to find your way back home. When you know the compass, you can find your way back home from anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you for, again, having this conversation, these seasonal reflections.
Oh my God, it's the last one. I can't believe it.
Yeah, let's see, folks. Would you like us to hear us talk and elaborate more on that? Get in touch, reach out, comment, send us mails. I will leave all our information below, how you can get in touch with us. We would love to stay connected. I hope I'm not presuming anything, but I guess, Yanaëlle, you too would like to.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, let us know any questions that you have or any personal ponderings and sharings. We just hope that this is supporting you a little bit on your own spiraling journey on this planet that is flying through the cosmos.
Going through our own cycle of evolution.
True.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for doing this with me, Yanaëlle. And well, let's say speak to you next time.
Exactly.
Bye.
Bye.